our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth and our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kanta at programang Tatak Pinoy. Napapanood at napapakinggan kahit saan ka man. Streaming worldwide. This is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin. Ito ang radio ko, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. Samahan na natin si Atty. Jai at DJ Gaur sa pagpapaunlad ng kalusugan sa katawan, isipan at espiritual. Ito ang Gopalakas! Gopalakas! Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
Payapang isipan, Gopalakas. Malinis na paligid, mabuting kalooban. Gopalakas, hangad na maglingkod sa kapwa't kaibigan. Gopalakas, alagaan natin si inang kalikasan. Halika na totoo sa kalikasan at kapwa-tao. Isa buhay natin ito. Gopala, Gopala. Sugan pangkalikasan, Gopalakas.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat and welcome back. Ayan, kamusta po tayo lahat? Ayan, welcome back sa ating radio program dito sa V81 Radio, ang Gopalakas Radio Program. Kami po ay nagbabalik at may panibago po kaming topic at may panibago po tayong bisita na maghahatid sa atin ng panibagong wisdom and na maaari tayong matulungan sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay. Lalo na po ngayong pandemic na tinatawag nating new normal. Pero para sa inyo, ito bang ating new normal? I think this is the new setup. Kasi ang ating normal, tayo po'y nakakalabas, tayo po'y masaya. And anyway, let's get back to the program. Dami ko na naman po nasabi. Ayan po tayo, palaging mga ang daming segue. So anyways, bago po tayo magsimula at gusto ko pong tawagin ang ating co-anchor para maliwanagan naman tayo. Magandang umaga, Atty. Jai. Are you there?
Magandang umaga, Gaur. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga viewers and listeners ng V81 Radio. Kamusta audio ko, Gaur? Okay naman?
Okay naman. Okay naman ang yung audio. Yes.
Exciting yung topic natin today, no? So today we're talking about what?
Bayanihan spirit, right? Andyan yung ating andyan ang ating program poster, Tech. Pwede ba natin ipakita? Right. So ayan. So anong masasabi mo dyan, Atty. Jai? Bilang attorney, yan.
Hindi bilang attorney, kundi bilang taong nagpa-practice ng wellness na ipinapahayag natin dito sa Gopalakas program every week. Ang masasabi ko dyan is napakagandang topic because it's related again to what we were discussing, I think, couple weeks ago on compassion in times of COVID, di ba? I think during that time, nabanggit nga ni Tito Toby sa ating Living Wise segment na ang compassion ay going beyond yourself.
Yes.
Going beyond yourself is embodied in the Bayanihan spirit. Kaya napaka-okay yung topic niya, napaka-exciting pag-usapan. And napaka-relevant din sa mga times natin ngayon.
Alright. So, Atty. Jai, baka may gusto tayong batiin? Pwede mo nang simulan. Mag-shoutout tayo sa ating mga viewers and listeners.
But, bigyan na natin ng pansin ang ating mga napaka-agang fans na nag-tune in kagad. Sa intro pa lang ng video, nag-tune in na sila. No? Mr. Matt Resurrection says, good morning. Hello, Matt. Ms. Alexandra Parunga says, good morning, Gopalakas. Good morning, Ms. Alexandra, all the way from Antipolo. Chris says, good morning. Hello. We will see your segment later. Ms. Dixie Palma says, good morning. Hello, Dixie. Good morning. Also on StreamYard, we have Mary Ann Timbacon.
Good morning.
Says, good morning. Hello, good morning. Thank you for tuning in so early.
Yeah, so maybe we can start our segment by
Sure.
inviting our Ate Chandra for the segment of the news and updates. And I think makakasama natin ngayong umaga, syempre hindi siya regular, mali na naman tayo. Pasensya na. But ito na lang, ganito na lang para mas madali. We have a national scientist, no, na magbabahagi sa atin. Siya si Dr. Luli Cruz. So anyway, ba't ba ako yung nag-introduce? Nandiyan naman si Ate Chandra. Wag na natin patagalin to. No? So, let's go to our new segments.
Okay, good morning. Okay, ipi-play ba yung video ko or magsasalita na ako? Gaur, kasalanan mo yan. Kasi pinangungunahan ako. But anyway, good morning everybody. I think I am on solo. Medyo nagulo yung start nung aking intro, but that's fine. Yes, I think na-excite lang ang ating mga hosts, no, about our guest for today. So today, we actually, like Gaur said, have invited somebody who was conferred with the Order of National Scientist in 2006. It is actually the highest honor bestowed in the Philippines on a Filipino scientist for outstanding achievements and contributions to the country in science and technology. She's actually the second Filipino to receive the prestigious ASEAN Outstanding Scientist Award and is among few conferred the UNESCO Award for Women in Science. Currently, she is a professor emeritus in the Marine Science Institute of UP Diliman. And she will talk about the many programs that she has initiated, which includes Future Earth Philippines program, which was formed to strengthen the country's sustainability and resilience through science-based solutions. So we'd like to welcome on the show Dr. Lourdes J. Cruz, or also more well known as Dr. Luli.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning,
It's so nice to have you with us this morning, Doctora. But joining us also in this segment is our very own in-house environmentalist and conservationist based in La Union, Tito Toby Tamayo. Let's welcome him also.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasant Saturday here. You know, the sun is out. Mula na maganda kahapon, you know.
Yes.
And again, Doc Luli, it's so nice to see you, you know. And it's an honor of you to come and join us, you know, to have you as our guest and to share a lot of life experiences and research and, you know, and science that you've done. You know, it will be such a welcome information for all our listeners. Ang mga ating mga taga-pakinig, gusto ko rin batiin muna sandali dahil I invited the governor of La Union I was hoping that he can come and even to listen this morning, you know. So I want to greet everybody, you know, including our beloved governor here in La Union, Governor Pacoy Ortega. But anyway, Chandra, take it, please. Go.
Okay. So, Doctora, could you tell us a little more about the work that you have done that the Philippines has actually conferred you with the award? What was your major contribution po?
Can we have, our contribution was on the study of yung marine snails, cone snails that are very beautiful. These started off as parang curiosity. We worked noon sa College of Medicine, which is malapit sa Malate, where ang daming may mga stores there selling seashells for collectors. At that time, allowed pa yung mag-gather na ang dami-daming seashells, you know, in the Visayas and ina-export. But, you know, maraming nakakasira rin yun ng yung ganong exportation of mga organisms from the coral reefs, some of the corals itself. Mabuti na, meron ng regulations, you know, about that. But we got interested because the fishermen told us about some of the species that can kill people. And I'd like to show you the slide, the snails that are responsible for the death of some of the uh, fishermen and gatherers.
Okay.
Next, please. Oops. No, the first one. Oh, yan na ba?
Yes po.
Okay, so this is the Conus magus, but the more active, first slide, the one that shows the Conus geographus, the deadly cone snail. Maybe people should see this. It's slide number 3
Okay.
because we should look out. So these are the many cone snails, and the next slide shows
Next slide.
the deadly Conus geographus. So this is how it looks live, and but if you pick up a snail, the best thing, like a cone snail, wag niyong hahawakan agad sa inyong kamay kasi baka mainip siya and it may sting you. So, and this can, people have been paralyzed after stinging by cone snails in 10 minutes, and they can die in 30 minutes. So, ang bilis. So we have to be careful if you want, if you're curious and want to examine the cone snail, use a stick to poke it so that the snail will go inside, and you can pick it up from the broad end para hindi ka, it's kasi yung nasa smaller end yung venom apparatus and stinger. And this is shown, so this is it's quite deadly, and it's 67% of fatality rate according to a Japanese scientist if without treatment. And next
slide.
Yeah, the next slide shows these snails eat different types of animals, different species, eat different types. Some are worm eaters, some are mollusk eaters, and some are fish eaters. And the next one shows you how they can deliver the venom. And this is the venom apparatus of the cone snail. You have a big venom bulb, and then venom duct that makes the venom. And then there's a radula sac that contains many harpoons at different stages of formation. Yung harpoons are disposable. They use it only once.
Oh, okay.
Well, then there's a proboscis, and then the harpoon is positioned at the end. And then the proboscis can be extended. Ano yan, napapahaba nila yan para they can sting fish that they want to eat, or a worm that it wants to eat. They're quite deadly, and there are some cases, lethal cases here in the Philippines. So yun. Our work, what we did initially was to try to see what in the venom can kill people. But eventually, we found that ang dami palang laman itong venom, iba-ibang components. And many of these act on nerves and muscles. The transmission of impulses, transmission of signals. So if you get bitten, stung by a cone snail, mapaparalyze ka. And that's what kills people because it paralyzes the diaphragm muscle, hindi na makahinga. In animals, in test animals that was shown. But many of these components are now being studied as models for drug development. And among the first ones that were developed was Prialt, which is referred to as the primary alternative to morphine, shown in the next slide. We have the ano, the first, actually, it was the first one that was shown. The Conus magus, which is a fish hunter. And it's 1,000 times, the peptide from this is 1,000 times more toxic than 1,000 times more potent than morphine. So in cases where people no longer respond to morphine, then this is given. But since this is a peptide, hindi siya talaga yung drug that you can just pop into your mouth. It has to be administered intrathecally para and it blocks calcium channels, kaya which is important sa pain pathway, and that's how it acts. And the work that we did has now attracted many people. There are now a lot of researchers doing work on these cone snails in Europe, Australia, India, the US, China, Taiwan, and so many researchers are now working on this. Okay. So,
So this is actually such a wonderful thing that you're talking about, because sa atin, we all know that most of our medicine or things that are being used for in the medical field normally either pinanggalingan halaman or land-based. And now this one that you're presenting, because we know that the world is 3/4 water, and that most of such information is still not being given or not being shared, or kakaunti pa yung kaalaman natin, you know?
Yes.
Is that right, ma'am? Yeah. And the Philippines having one of the longest coastlines in the world. Ang ganda ho ng potential nito sa atin at saka yung ating marine biodiversity napakalawak at napakarami. One of the most in the world today, you know.
Right. So in the Marine Science Institute, yung mga dati naming estudyante continued on the work, and our my former collaborator Toto Oliveira, who is now based in Utah, continues it and keeps accepting students from the Philippines. And there's now two research, Lilibet. My work on cone snails was continued by Gisela Concepcion, and then now by Lilibet Reyes. And in San Agustin, there are people also studying marine natural products. Na University of San Agustin in Iloilo.
Baka hindi natin na-discover eh. Baka meron pa tayong pang-COVID, ano ma'am? Must be...
Yeah. Actually, yung seaweeds have been... there are many publications about the antiviral activity of seaweeds. And even yung mga polymer that the carrageenan, which you put in ice cream, is a component of toothpaste. You can make a gel out of that. That is a form of carrageenan has been found to have antiviral activity. And there is now a commercial product that's made in Europe. It's a nasal spray. It's supposed to be a defense against cold. But there's the type of clinical trials that the MDs want is really one that is very thorough. And in cases like this where the patient number is very small, parang ayaw nilang i-promote it as a cure kasi nga kulang pa sa scientific evidence that talagang it's good. But maraming testimonials, you know, and we have submitted a proposal to the OST to collaborate with the producer, the commercial producer of carrageenan in Cebu. And so we're going to collaborate with them to make assay against COVID para ma-prove na talaga effective siya sa COVID, because we want to produce nasal spray, even yung meron na silang lotion, yung parang sanitizer na meron karaginan, meron na silang ginagawa, and it's still, they're submitting is to FDA for approval. And so, parang in addition to the physical barrier, like the mask and the face shield, this can be siguro a secondary barrier. Yung nasal spray, kasi there's an antiviral agent that you have sprayed. Kahit makapasok sa mask yung COVID, didikit naman siya sa membrane ng ilong na meron ng karaginan.
Kasi side effects pa naman. It's very natural.
I hope our proposal gets approved so we can start studying this.
These are all wonderful to hear, ma'am. Kasi kami rin sa atin, di ba? Later, you'll be discussing about future Earth. Ang issue nga there's somebody who actually are using or they have discovered that some of the seaweeds are now a better replacement for plastics. Kung narinig nyo ito. So, ang ganda ng pag-aaral na ganyan. But anyway, what you're informing us with is so crucial in the times because it's not just now. I believe that we need these things because we have to be facing the fact that the population of the world is growing sa dami ng tao and then our natural resources is dwindling so nakakawala na lahat ng mga virus tuloy. So we have to be for other things in the future, And as natural as it is, it should be much better for use, di ba, ma'am? Kadalasan kasi chemical based,
The process that's now being developed for the seaweed, turning it into a plastic, is very, it's just seaweeds na ipina-process lang. It's they will patent the process. But we hope that it's a collaboration between somebody in Germany and one of the professors here at the Marine Science Institute.
Wonderful.
So the deal is for that technology to be set up here in the Philippines kasi marami tayong seaweeds. So, meron ng very promising results that show na talagang you have a flexible material that's made of seaweeds that's biodegradable, of course. So, hindi siya yung tatagal ng libo-libong taon around.
And yun nga po yung relation to sustainability. Natural na po and sustainable po siya. Diba po? So, Doctora, in your opinion po, what role does science play in to providing solutions? You talked about some of them already. But yeah, other solutions to challenges faced by our country or communities in our country.
Marami tayong, tulad nga sa conservation, we really need to conserve our resources. Ang forest cover natin, it used to be way back when the Americans came, mga 80% daw ang ating forest cover. And then that went down. So latest is around naging mga 16, 17, and then mga 20% na raw. But then that 20% is may forest nga, gaanong kakapal pa yung forest. Diba? So, we started, this is why we decided to work with the ITAS of Kanawan. Initially, we went there as volunteers together with the Pahinungod volunteer group ng UP Diliman. And we just taught literacy. And then, the children, the volunteers taught them about biodiversity, how important biodiversity is. And then we were able to get a grant fund from the Philippine Tropical Forest Conservation Foundation. And that's when we started training them. We were able to get 2 field biologists, mainly Ulysses Ferreras, but Leonard Ko, the well-known taxonomist and field biologist, was also a consultant. And so, this picture shows the training in biodiversity inventory and parataxonomy that was organized by Ulysses Ferreras. And in going through the forest, they discovered some orchids na noon lang nakita sa Luzon and other species. No? And then, in addition to training them in inventory and parataxonomy, next slide shows that we also trained them in making how to set up a nursery, and then from the nursery planting it in the denuded areas of the forest. But there were also areas that were allotted for fruit trees, so that like we planted kasoy and banana, papaya, so that they will have something naman for their livelihood. So and the next one I think shows, yes, this is a guidebook that resulted from the inventory of the forest, that in addition to the two experts in biology, Ulysses Ferreras and Leonard Coe, included among the authors are two Aitas, one of the tribal leaders, and then one who is very, he has really a very good knowledge of the forest, of the plants. And he imitates birds. And he was actually hired by somebody who was studying birds, so that the birds will come when they started imitating the birds. Then, they can take pictures of the birds that come. So, ang galing nila. And it's a two-way learning experience, because the scientists taught them about the scientific names, how the plants are classified, but they also told us about the way they classify plants. Alam nila kung ano yung magkakamag-anak, alam nila kung ano gamit itong halaman to, kung kailan ito namumulaklak ba ito taon-taon o every other year. At saka marami silang alam tungkol, maraming natutunan from them. And so tuloy pa ang aming kwan sa kanila. Yes, Toby.
The tribal knowledge, Ma'am, is so important, especially nowadays. It will be very interesting what and how the tribes are responding to this given pandemic. Kasi yung kanilang cultural practices nila, napakahabang taon eh. At saka yung kaalaman nila sa mga halaman at puno, at saka they're so sensitive to changes in nature that sometimes tayo parang parating na yung bagyo, hindi natin alam kung may bagyo or we have to rely on pag-asa. But sila hindi, may built-in sila eh. They have a built-in way of saying, oh wow, there's something brewing, or the time of the climate patterns, halos kabisan nila yan eh. And of course, Ma'am, I think one of the things that they can really share, yung mga kaalaman nila sa mga gamot na halaman.
Oo, marami yan. Oo. At saka, alam mo, ang magandang balita is sila, wala sa kanilang may COVID among the Aitas. Walang nagka-COVID. Sa Morong, yung town mismo, mahusay yung mayor eh. She's an MD. Si Mayor Cynthia Linao, Stanislao. And siya, mahigpit sa borders. Nung may dumating na OFW, nagkaroon may COVID, pero na-control nila yan, hindi kumalat. So walang active case ngayon sa Morong. And pero pa rin sila, naghihigpit pa rin, may social distancing pa rin, just in case. Pero we're happy na among the Aitas, wala.
Siguro, natural sa kanila yung social distancing. Nasa gubat sila palagi. At saka yung something about the forest.
Maraming space eh.
Something about the forest, it has a particular way of protecting all its inhabitants. The quality of air, the water, yung the natural setting, what it is, di ba? May ganyan eh. And this is something that we all from the urban areas are lacking.
Oo.
So yung panlaban natin sa mga sakit, medyo mahina ng konti,
Oo. Sila, dito siksikan eh.
Yes. Plus again, they're exposed to the elements, so that the way they grew up, ang laki yung bagay niyan eh, dahil
Oo.
Basically, we adapt to the elements very well, especially them, the Aitas or the ating mga katutubo, iba-ibang mga tribo sa Pilipinas.
Oo. Tsaka sila, kahit na may trabaho sila sa baba, minsan nag-absent yan kasi gusto nilang umakyat sa gubat. Gusto nilang mag-recharge. Nag-absent yan kasi umakyat sa gubat.
Alam po nila yung priorities nila. Na nakakaligtaan nga natin ngayon, lalo na nga tulad namin po na nasa city. At least kila Tito Toby rin medyo magagawa yung mga ganun po, no. So you've worked with so many of these communities, Doktora, no. It's so nice to hear your experiences from about them and with them. Doktora, sorry, go ahead.
Gusto ko lang idagdag yung natutunan ni Grace Yu, yung aming isang collaborator, tungkol doon sa mga kinakain nila. Pinag-aralan niya yung functional food. And I think this is in this next slide, showing yung pinag-aralan niya, yung ratan, yung ubod ng ratan. Kinakain niya ng mga Aita, ng mga nasa bundok, alam din nila yan. Pero naggamot nila ito functional food na mahusay sa diarrhea. Pero ang nakita ni Grace, hindi lang sa diarrhea, kundi sa anti-inflam, may anti-cancer din activity. So, dahil sa kanila, kaya natutunan ni Grace itong gamit nitong limuran. At ang galing yung anti-inflammatory, dinedevelop na, nag-set up na doon ng small processing plant para maipagbili nila, ma-process ito at maipagbili nila as herbal tea. And ang galing niya sa mga sakit, anti-pain, na hindi siya nakaka-hyperacidity. Di ba yung ibang anti-pain drugs, even aspirin itself, ang sama sa sikmura, no? Mm-hmm. Ito okay siya. And then, ang galing, this anti-inflam is very good for dysmenorrhea. Very effective. Lahat ng nabigyan namin yan, nagsasabi na in 10 minutes, tanggal yung whatever pain they have. Ang bilis.
It's what you're sharing right now, Ma'am, is so wonderful to hear because alam nyo, ang ratan is already one of those medyo hinarvest masyado at saka namatay na o nasisira yung mga habitat nito And then I think it was over-harvested and was not controlled. But hearing what you are mentioning this morning, this is a potential of something that we can be propagating and, we should be developing this more and conserving the areas where we can grow ratan very nicely, yung mga ganun ba? And then, kumbaga, ito ang mga regalo ng ating kagubatan na sometimes tayo hanap kung saan-saan. Yung pala, sa mga bulubundukin lang natin na lugar, nandiyan na yung mga gamot na kailangan natin.
Oo nga.
Wala pong side effects.
Oo. Kinakain nila yan for years and years and years.
Dito nga yung meron tinatawag sila, meron din kaming mga katutubo dito sa lugar sa La Union. Ang marami dito yung isang uring puno, ang tawag ubod ng pugahan or fishtail sa atin. Maraming nagla-landscape ito yung gusto nila. Alam nyo, sinasabi nila pero kailangan talagang bigyan ng pansin na pag-aralan kasi may mga panahon, kinakain nila yung ubod mas lalo sa panahon ng tag-ulan. Sabi nila, nakaka-avoid daw nakaka-minimize ng mga sakit-sakit sa mga anak at saka sa mga, especially women who are pregnant.
Oo.
Yung immunity nila napapaboost. Pero sabi ko naman, wag naman natin ubusin yung mga fishtail. Kailangan mag-develop at magtanim pa tayo dahil kakaunti na rin yan.
Kailangan
sharing this information.
Yeah, ang ratan nga. Pinagtatanim na sila ni Grace Yu na ratan. Sabi, alagaan niya yan. Pero ang sabi ng mga Aita, pagka raw naglalakad sila sa gubat, may nakita silang bunga ng ratan, kinukuha raw nila yung mga hinog, tapos kinakalat lang nila, tinatapon nila para tumubo kung saan-saan. Parang na sila, nagpa-planting na sila noon.
Madali lang po siyang itanim.
Well, inahagis lang daw nila eh. Pero may mga areas doon, merong isang malaking area na puro ratan, puro ganyan. Pero kung gagamitin talaga siya commercially sa paggawa ng herbal tea, dapat magtanim pa sila, alagaan nila, i-manage ng gusto yung resources.
Yes.
Hindi baka maubos. So,
Lagi naman po na nauubos po, no? So Dr. I understand you have yung project niyo po that you're working on also currently. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about that and how we can individually contribute to the sustainability of these kind of natural resources.
sige. So if we can have yung slide tungkol sa Future Earth Philippines. Next, please. Next. So we have a project, Future Earth Philippines. It's actually part of the Future Earth Global Initiative for Sustainability and Resilience. So this is a project that's being supported, that was supported by the OST. May lag ngayon kasi we're in between granting periods. And then some of the agencies of the OST, andyan ang National Academy of Science and Technology, PSHERD at NRCP. And then kasama namin dito iba-ibang state universities. And the next slide shows na yung yung sustainability. And here we say na development is just not sustainable kung uubusin natin ang ating mga resources. Yan, kalbo ang forest, walang mangroves, pati coral reef na dinamita na, nasira na. So, nauubos yung ating biocapacity, the capacity of the environment to provide for what we need, so for our daily life. So ito yung tinatawag na biocapacity loss. And then the next slide shows that development is not also sustainable when we generate waste that nature has difficulty dealing with. So andyan nga yung plastic waste, which has become a bigger problem these days because of all the mask and PPEs,
Disposable, yeah.
and the shield. And then, ang Philippines, ang Metro Manila before COVID was talaga ang, grabe ang pollution, but medyo nag-decrease daw atmospheric pollution kasi kukunti ang sasakyan, tumatakbo. But we were the third highest, we had the third highest number of deaths due to pollution, outdoor pollution, and second due to indoor pollution, according to WHO. So, ito tayo as consumers, we contribute a lot to the waste, and makikita naman natin to sa ating mga esteros, at saka yung mga plastics na umaabot sa dagat. Tapos andyan pa ang pagmimina and agriculture, yung mga pesticides, insecticides, herbicides. Yan, that disturbs the environment. And ito yung tinatawag na ecological footprint. Ang laki ng ating ecological footprint. This is how much we disturb the environment. And the next slide shows where the Philippines is in terms of the biocapacity. Yung green line, ito yung graph showing a green line, yung bottom line. That's the biocapacity. So since 1961, pababa na siya ng pababa. At the upper line is the ecological footprint natin. Nag-balance lang yung biocapacity with our ecological footprint noong early 60s. Tapos simula nun, tumaas yung ating, tsaka na-maintain sa mataas na level ang ating footprint, yung disturbance ng ating environment, how much we take from the environment. Versus in biocapacity is relatively low. So we have been operating in an ecological deficit for the past half century. Yeah, so compared to the other nations in the next slide, andyan ang Malaysia, Indonesia, that's starting to have negative deficit also, ecological deficit. But countries like Australia and Canada that have a bigger area and also less population,
Mm.
sila. So, for the Philippines, paano natin yung nagawa natin itong past 50 years na parati tayo negative, anong kailangan natin gawin para mapag-abot yung dalawa, at least mabalance man lang dalawa. Kailangan natin pataasin ang ating biocapacity at kailangan natin bawasan ang ating ecological footprint, yung istorbong ginagawa natin sa environment. Only then will be sustainable. And kung hindi sustainable yung resilience din natin, no, na nasa negative na tayo eh. So, I mean, we're always operating ngayon para tayong disaster parati kasi negative tayo parati. Hindi ba?
In the time of COVID, like now, there's a pandemic. We could see how it's everybody's so stressed and strained. The leadership, the people. Kasi the capacity is so limited na ho, di ba? Halos
Yeah.
negative na tayo. Kaya ang respond ho natin talagang it will make it so it's difficult for everyone, especially future looking po tayo. Mas mahirap na ho. The fact that itong pandemic, ginising ho tayo eh.
Oo. In a way, may na-realize natin ang importance of the environment now. Pero sana wag na masyadong tumagal itong COVID, para naman economically,
Yes.
maka-recover tayo.
Yes, and it's in many countries they still, especially those that maintain the soundness of their environment. Ayan ho yung kanilang kapasidad to maintain the soundness of the quality of their life.
Oo.
Water, air, di ba? And nutritious food, back to basics eh. Sa kanila, they maintain that. Sa atin ho, pagdating sa back to basics, nahihirapan na ho tayo. We have to open up other areas for just the water needs of Metro Manila. Gagalawin na naman ho natin ang mga bulubundukin ng Sierra Madre.
Ay, oo. Yan ang kailangan nating ayusin yung water resources, and that depends nga on the bulubundukin, yung ating mga trees.
Yes.
And kailangan talaga mamulat na tayo talaga lahat na yun ang kailangan. At saka hindi tayo pag sustainability ang hinahabol natin, hindi lang economic development dapat ang tututukan eh. Andyan yung balance niya sa environment at saka yung sa social aspects. Dapat yung pagtutulungan,
Yes.
And governance is very important, di ba?
Yes.
Kailangan yung ating ma-elect are the people na talagang nandyan yung nasa isip nila yung environment, hindi lang economy, the environment, and then the social aspects para balance tayo maging sustainable and resilient nga, di ba?
Yes, we find that this is something that we are encountering today because maybe down the future we should be looking into this, just as you mentioned, that we have to have a different mindset of the future. And this pandemic woke us up as how prepared we are. But a climate change issue is brewing. And in other places of the country, I think we're already faced with this. Dito sa amin sa Region 1, it was only recently that it started to rain. And normally our rainfall is as early as end of June. But alam nyo, 1 week pa lang ho yung rain sa amin, this whole region. So hindi ho nakatanim ng palay yung mga tao sa tamang panahon. Siyempre, ina-avoid ng mga taga Northern Luzon yung October, November season. Sana normally, makaani na kami by that time on our main crop. Kasi dadating na yung bagyo eh. But ngayon, dahil muli ang pagtanim, again, this is, in the last 5 years, we could have seen how the extension of the dry season is so obvious in the impact of this. And then I believe mostly in the future, this would be an issue that we are going to be confronted with. Kasi ano na yan apektado na ang pagkain, apektado na yung quality of life ng tao, kakaunti ang mga resources. Ang hirap magtanim. Napakahirap magtanim. Mas lalo kung wala ho tayo yung mga binanggit nyo na biocapacity and limited yung biocapacity per probinsya. Nakikita kung biocapacity, mas kakaunti ang productivity ng area pagdating sa pagkain.
Oo.
So this is,
hirap yung mga
this is science, you know. Yung science ho na you're sharing this, and I hope that many of our listeners take note of this and leadership, that we should look really into this, improving the biocapacity per probinsya, per locality. It can make a whole impact in our sustainability of our society.
Yeah. Tsaka dapat matuto rin tayong, yung education, kailangan yun Matuto tayo na kung may problema, yung meron ba tayong anong dapat unang gawin?
Yes, ma'am.
Yung pag magkaroon ng problema, isipin kung ano pwede natin gawin on site. Hindi yung pag nagka-problema gusto hingi agad ng tulong. Di ba? Parang medyo maging
resiliency
sa capability ng bawat isang tao.
Yes.
Na
nakita ko natin yan, ma'am Hindi ba itong sa pandemic, ma'am, you are presenting a lot of information that is science-based. And we find that even in our citizenry, even our leadership, nangangapaho sila pagdating sa siyensya. Parang nagkukulang po tayo pagdating sa education, pagdating sa science. Tingnan nyo, simple wearing of mask and ngayon, shield, it took a while for us to pick things up right away. But if it's a strong science-based educational approach to things, and even our citizens are educated, given our capacity to understand what science and how science works in their daily life. And I think this will make a difference, And then, kita nyo ho, 160,000 na ho yung ating COVID case.
Grabe.
Just one month, nadagdagan ng 100,000. Ang bilis.
Ang bilis.
Napakabilis ho.
It's just really overwhelmed yung ating hospitals.
Yes. So again, I think all of our listeners, please take note of this valuable information and biocapacity. This is something na minsan hindi natin, ano yan, biocapacity? Ano yan? Hindi natin parang i-define yung biocapacity, ano ba yan But true. Like even the people here in the provincial areas or in the countryside, even them, they don't understand how this biocapacity works in the improvement of their own livelihoods and the quality of their life. Mom, you shared things on plants, you shared things that can be medicine, you have shared things that has to do with improving our immune system, improving our environment, and making it so that we are future looking. That's why ito ho, ang ganda ho ng Future Earth program ho na yun. Sana magkatuluyan, ma'am.
Oo nga So, natapos, di ba, noon kasama ka rin doon sa first phase,
Yes,
yung unang activity natin noon with the indigenous tribes sa Subic.
Yes, ma'am.
And then our last activity was in La Union.
Yeah, ma'am.
In Lotus Valley.
Yes, ma'am. That went quite far. Even the governor here took note, and then some of the leadership of Ilocos Sur and Ilocos Norte took note of it, and they were wondering when are we going to go there. Sana mag-post naman sila doon sa ibang lugar just so that there's that view of, kasi minsan we disregard many things and that's so important because kumbaga we live day to day lang ang inclinations ng buhay natin na napakaikli ng ating pananaw, but hindi natin tinitingnan the future generations to come. How are we going to feed them? What's the quality of life of our country going to be like? And with climate change brewing, and the Philippines one of the most vulnerable countries in the world as far as the climate change impact. Really, the biocapacity should be a focus for many of us.
Oo. Isa sa mga importante, yung sinasabi mo, Toby, yung tungkol sa conservation of wild bees. Nako, yun ang
Yes.
dapat nang matutukan yon.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, marami ho tayong mga uring mga halaman na napakaganda kasi ng economic potential niya para sa mga tao. Katulad ng mga native trees natin. Yung mga bitaog, mga mulabe, mga bagras. Ito ho lahat they're very resilient trees. But unfortunately, ang ganda ho ng mga kahoy na ubos ho lahat. Wala nang itinitira. But these are also certain varieties of trees that the bees would need to survive. May honey siya, tsaka may pollen. And these are trees that would give us medicinal potential. Hindi lang ho natin na pag-aaralan. But anyway, this should be another subject matter, ma'am, kasi mahaba rin yung pagdating sa pinag-usapan ng biodiversity. And then maybe we can have you again on this, ma'am.
Well, it's nice to be talking with you about this, and Chandra here also. And
Salamat, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bagay.
Ma'am, we'll have you again. So ating mga panauhin, bigyan ho natin, ito'y karangalan para sa atin lahat at marinig ang isang matanyag na scientist na talagang kilala hindi lang sa ating bansa, ngunit sa ating buong mundo. Ang contribution ho nila ay napakalawak, and then we should, and I hope that there will be more Filipino young scientists who would follow in your footsteps, ma'am. And it would be wonderful, huh? The work that you've done is far-reaching. Thank you, Homa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Luli. Thank you, Tito Toby.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll go back to Gaur and Attorney Jai. That ends our interview session with Dr. Luli. Tito Toby, thank you so much for that.
Yan, so maraming salamat nga pala. Ayan, palakpakan natin muli si ating Dr. Luli. Ayan. So, maraming salamat sa inyo. Grabe, no? So, doon natin makikita kung ano yung nangyayari talaga sa ating bansa. Ayan, and makikita natin kung parang nawala yata ako. Ayan, Attorney Jai, you enter. Nawala ako.
Gaur, nagiging Transformers ka ata, Gaur. Bakit ka nagiging Transformers? Hindi ka na naman nagbayad ng internet bill mo.
Yes, totoo yun. So you take it over na.
But regardless, no, napaka-inspiring ng discussion ni Dr. Luli. And I think our viewers and listeners can pick up a lot of practical tips on how to live in a way that is more in line with the Bayanihan spirit of the Filipino.
Yes.
The Bayanihan spirit of the Filipino is not just limited to helping your mga kapwa Filipino, but also helping the environment you live in, which in turn helps your kapwa Filipino also. Hindi ba?
Yes.
At this stage, bago tayo mag-break, we'd like to greet the rest of our viewers who have been tuned in to Dr. Luli's segment. Miss Ivy Villamor says, good morning. Hi, Ivy. Hello. Ana Kunanan says, magandang umaga, Gopalakas. Topic is timely because her nephew is creating a poster. And ang theme is Bayanihan in time of COVID. Napaka-timely nga. O, baka pwede natin i-share yun sa next episode natin.
And si Dr. Janet, right? Si Ma'am Janet. Sabi niya, Dr. Luli, keep up the good work for the welfare of the Filipinos. Hi, Ma'am Janet. Thank you for tuning in, right?
Yes. Miss Rosalind Lascano says, good morning, Gopalakas. More power to your show. She's watching all the way from Okinawa. Wow.
Yeah.
Viewer tayo from Japan. Ben Torres says, good morning. Mike Rex says, good morning. And my brother, Doc Nash says...
And from our YouTube viewers, Ma'am April... Alright, sige.
Ivy says, thank you to Dr.
And syempre sa... Alright.
Go ahead, Gaur.
Meron din tayong viewers sa YouTube. Si Ma'am April May Bata. Sabi niya, good morning, Gopalakas. Thank you for your wonderful sharings. So maybe at this time, Kuya Jai, we have to take a break, short break for our next segment, right? So sa ating mga listeners and viewers, kami po ay magbabalik. Thank you very much.
Kalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo.
So yan, magandang umaga po ulit and welcome back.
Yes.
Welcome back to our show. Ayan. Sa pagkakataong ito ay nandito na po tayo sa ating pangalawang segment, which is the Living Wise. So onting paalala lang po para sa ating mga viewers and listeners. And if you are new to this show, yung mga bago pong pasok sa ating live streaming, meron po tayong question and answer portion mamaya, and you are all free to ask questions. Simply comment below your questions, and meron po tayong hotline. So nandyan po ang ating Globe and Smart, ang 0977-681-7315, and sa Smart sa 096155-71944. So for your questions, ayan, wag po tayo mahihiyang mag-comment. And if you have any suggestions and question, please PM us and message us. So Attorney Jai.
Lalo na dun sa discussion ni Dr. Luli, no? Sayang,
Yes.
I think our viewers, if you want to take advantage of the presence of Dr. Luli on our show, ask questions.
Yes.
So wag kayong mahiya. Right now, we'll proceed to our Living Wise segment. As always, itong inaabangan ng ating mga viewers every week. Practical
Yes, so
tips
wag na
on
po
how to
natin.
live wise with our 3 hosts from La Union. Go ahead, Gaur.
Yun. Wag na natin patagalin. I-welcome na po natin sila Tito Toby, Tita Marisa, and Tita Socorro.
Pleasant morning again sa ating mga viewers. Ito na naman tayo. We just had quite a wonderful guest sa ating bisita natin kanina.
Yes.
Napakiklig lang talaga ng mga oras. Ang bilis ng oras dumaan. Ang bilis.
International awardee siya.
Yes.
Hindi lang national, pero international awardee for science.
There's so much
Her
to share.
discovery.
Oo.
Warm thanks to ating kay Ma'am Luli for being here in the show. Anyway, magandang umaga ho sa inyong lahat ulit. At ito, kay si Tita Marisa,
Hello, good morning, mabuhay kayong lahat.
si Tita Socorro.
The Bayanihan spirit to everybody.
Okay, yan ang ating tema ngayon yung bayanihan. Ano? And alam nyo, the bayanihan spirit of the country, historically, ang ating bansa, kasi isla there's almost 7,000 islands. So, natural na ang mga tao living in these different islands for them to survive, to get, with the face and the changes in the environment dynamics, the growing food, taking care of their needs. Alam mo, yung bayanihan spirit na to has been there all along. The different tribal groups natin, we have close to 64 different tribes. in the
Wow,
whole
dami
country.
pala.
Ang dami na.
Oo.
And all of them were surviving for many thousands of years, having to deal with the natural disasters that come their way. Kasi hindi naman bago yung mga bagyo Dati na yan
Oo.
So historically, if you look at how the country the landscape of the where people live. Makikita nyo yung pagdating sa yung kahalagahan ng ating forest. Tapos kanina binanggit yung biocapacity at nagkukulang na tayo sa ating bansa. Kaya pagdating sa mga panahon ng disaster or may mga bagyo or mahabang kainitan, like droughts, without a balance, a strong biocapacity, tayo mahihirapan harapin ang ating future.
In
So,
fact, one of the concerns na nga daw is dahil padating ang bagyo, tapos syempre used to the system of nasa evacuation center sa schools, yung mixing, paano yung social
Right.
distancing. So there's another challenge for people to complicate, no? Nagsama yung pandemya at saka nagsama din yung typhoon season
yes,
natin.
yung wet season during the time na, alam nyo ngayon, if you're tracking the weather for the last 2 months, you see, Mindanao, hindi normally nagbabaha.
Oo nga, later sila dapat eh.
Even South Korea, yung
Oo.
Ang dami, iba-ibang lugar.
Everywhere
Talagang nakikita
nakakagulo.
natin ang
It's not
pagbabago sa
normal.
ating klima sa buong mundo. And this should be a wake-up call for us. And dito sa pandemya, ginising tayo mas lalo eh. Hindi lang tayo as individuals, but also the whole country and the whole world
yes.
as to our readiness to face such stress in our society, the pandemic. And nobody prepared. We were ill-prepared eh.
Everybody was
was
surprised.
so surprised by
Oo.
it, But dito sana maganda kung ang bayanihan spirit natin, dito rin nakakaroon ng... Kasi alam nyo how the bayanihan spirit works. There's always a lot of this bayanihan spirit is born out of wanting to share and care for one another.
Yes. Parang yun sa Mountain Province, no? That barangay. Is it a barangay?
It's a town. The
Oo,
town of
oo,
Paracelis
town.
recently. Nasa news sila eh. Yung in the beginning of the COVID crisis, di ba nagbibigay ng ayuda ang gobyerno sa lahat, no? The first ayuda. This particular town refused. They said, we don't
Unusual.
need the ayuda. We will survive on our own. And that how it works is like this. Sa kanila, kung sino yung pinaka may kaya at saka sino yung pinaka nahihirapan, natural nung pinaka may kaya, yung may ibig sabihin nun, mas marami siyang resources sa lupa, sa palay, tutulungan niya yung nahihirapan.
Ang
And
galing.
it is guided by wisdom and the Bayanihan spirit led by their tribal leaders. And such
So good.
knowledge is handed down and passed down. Because sa mga tribal areas, sinasabi nila to na hindi palaging panahon natin halos masaya, maganda. Alam nila yung kaalaman na gano'n na every year dadaanan tayo ng isang bagyo o masasalanta yung ating mga tanim. There will always be a time of need ng lahat, maapektuhan. So, in the Philippines, if you look at the history of it, that this Bayanihan spirit grew out of this to help one another, especially in need. But because in the culture of sharing and looking at learning, kumbaga there's always a lessons learned. Kung ano natutunan nila ngayon, idadagdag nila yan. Ligsa sa kaalaman. And this knowledge is handed down and it's passed on to the next generation.
Ang galing.
And sila rin yung nagko-control ng mga different dynamics na kunyari, kinukulang yata yung ating palay, or they would have to learn, how much resources the community has. Tapos pag may nagkasakit,
Oo.
everybody's a part of the whole process. Yung kumbaga how can we help? Alam nyo, raising the young ones, making it so that they're properly educated is a responsibility of not just the family, but by the community, and with a bigger picture, by the country. Kaya tayo, wag natin talikuran yung ating naging history. Because a lot of the knowledge that was handed down and that was learned for so many hundreds of years is something that we can learn and use in this very modern time. Kasi pareho rin naman yung mga ini-encounter nila pagdating sa pandemya. They encountered this issue.
Yes,
You know?
yes. They went through such periods.
Yes,
of
may mga
difficulty.
ganyan yan.
Kahit nung panahon ng digmaan, ng war,
Right.
they had to try and survive. Diba?
So makikita natin yung mga tribal areas, they're very resilient to this type of occurrence that take place in society.
I was reflecting on what Dr. Luli was saying na sa Morong, sa mga Aita, walang nagkakasakit. No? Kasi sabi ko, kasi yung buhay nila, nandun sa kanilang yung community. They have their food. They don't have to go to the grocery. So walang exposure. No? Then they have their butika, which is also in the forest.
Butika
Yes.
ng gubat, ang tawag.
Butika ng gubat. So health-wise, food-wise, they can support their themselves and their community.
Yeah. I was actually a bit surprised nga that they don't have any case. Kasi nagpunta kami dun sa kanilang barangay, no, in one of the Aita groups. And they actually live very close to each other, yeah. So they must have some other secrets to keeping their health together. Kasi they're actually dikit-dikit yung bahay, no? So it's wonderful
Kasi
how they
gano'n
can
ang mga
do
tribe
it, yeah.
Kasi siyempre, yung kaya nga tribe, yung village nila, there's the way it's designed is para kunyari may mga intruders, may sarili silang seguridad, alam nila kagad. May ganyan ang kanilang system. Even the Igorots have the same thing. Many of our katutubos, alam niyo, it's so important that we should recognize how they live. We should give them recognition on how they have sustained themselves for so long without having to depend
Yeah, on outside
on
help.
outside help.
And in fact, there are other countries daw na nagpapadala ng researchers, di ba?
Yes.
Like even supposedly mga Japanese were gonna come to
Yes.
interview to find out ano yung kinakain nila, ano yung mga
Yeah.
gamot nila na
Yes,
halaman.
they're interested in the knowledge
The
that they
knowledge,
had
oo.
sa herbal medicine.
Whereas in the Philippines, parang dinidiscriminate sila. They're looked down upon, they're always being teased and, ridiculed by some people na uneducated kuno ang tingin sa kanila. But in
They have
fact,
so much knowledge.
they've
no?
reached a whole wealth of knowledge.
Exactly. Okay, so for my part, I wanted to share just a little bit of what I know taking care of plants for the survival of our plants. Kasi ngayon, we're all excited to buy plants, di ba? We're either planting gulay or whatever. So just a few tips to make sure our plants survive. Kasi, when you buy a plant, usually it's because, wow, ang ganda, I want this, no? Then you bring it home and then you think, saan to maganda ilagay? So we're thinking more of decorative items siya, no? But these are alive, they have certain needs. And so my advice is when you buy a plant, aside from it being very beautiful, find out what the plant needs, no? Ano ba ang kanyang needs when it comes to the sunshine, to air, and all that? Kasi,
Requirements.
yeah, their requirements
The
and
elements.
water, no? Kasi halimbawa, you bought one and it's pala outdoor, tapos pinasok mo sa loob ng bahay. Kawawa naman, wala siyang sun, no? So usually, a lot of plants, they like some sun kahit paano. So usually, you should put them somewhere naman na makakaramdam sila ng konting sunshine, no? Usually near a window. And, plants, they're like people. They like to be with each other. So it's nice to have a little grouping. No? They help each other.
May clustering
Yes.
sila Kasi
Oo.
alam niyo, katulad sa kagubatan natin, may malalaking puno, may medium size, may vines, may shrubs, kita niya.
Hindi
Ito
pala
kaya-
kailangan ng social distancing ng halaman.
Hindi. Ang plants, they help each other with moisture kasi
I
No?
see.
That's one of the things that
Tapos
they need. Yung may humidity silang kailangan. So when they're together, nagtutulungan sila.
Saka iba sa kanila,
Para may bayanihan din
kumbaga,
sila.
yung
di ba?
Bayanihan spirit yan. We can learn a lot, from nature because
Yes.
definitely, just as the Aitas recognize that, yung mga halaman na ito gamot. Tapos, paano yan nabubuhay? Nakikita mo, may mga halaman na gumagapang. Di ba? Yan, hindi rin siya, kumbaga, may mga puno na pag ginapangan siya ng vine, hey, ayaw ko.
Ayaw.
ko.
Meron.
Pero
Hindi
may
siya
mga
social.
puno na, sige, sky's the limit. Gapang kayo rito, gapang kayo dyan. Tutulungan
Usually
ko
the
pa kayo.
trees, ano.
Ito yung,
Yeah. Now also, when we buy plants, syempre alam natin they need water. So, dilig naman tayong dilig, Pero we don't realize na,
Nalulunod
one
ka
of
pala.
the main things that will kill a plant is too much watering. So, kailangan i-check nyo muna. You just touch the soil, above, on the top of the check it if it's still moist, wag muna kayo mag-water. When to your touch, it's dry, then that's the time to water. Watch it kasi sometimes nalulunod ng siya, kawawa naman. But if you are, let's say, you can leave na the house, you're excited to go away because you've been stuck for months, no? If you're going to leave your plant at home for a few days, here's one tip. You get a bottle, the water bottles, no? You fill it with water, yung kanyang cap, put a few holes. Yeah, and then you can turn it over and stick it into the soil so that the bottle is upside down, and then you have a way of parang, what do you call the drip system?
irrigation.
Yeah. Drip system. So your plant can be all right with the water since it's just dripping, hindi siya malulunod, no? And then there'll be some water for a few days. So depende na how long you're gonna leave your plant, you decide on the size of the bottle that you may be able to use. Yeah. My sister had a huge pot before, no? Meron siyang tobacco plant in their house. And she was going away for like a week. She got yung litro na bote and yun ang ginamit niya, no? And then when they came back, the plant was absolutely fine.
IV system siya.
Yes, para siyang IV.
Saka ito, kagandahan nito yung drip niya, nakadirekta sa roots.
Yes.
So, ina-absorb ng gusto. Hindi na yung, kadalasan kasi yung mga halaman na nauhaw o kinukulang sa pagdilig, umaakit yung ugat niya.
Shallow yung roots niya.
Ngayon, hindi imbis na maging matatag siya at malalim yung kanyang ugat. So may mga lessons learned pagdating sa mga ganyan.
Yeah. Okay, now there are just two plants that I want you to buy. Like for me, these are must to have. One is the aloe vera plant. Kasi I think everybody knows what an aloe vera plant looks like, right? Aloe vera, they're very good, not just for, any plant is good to give us oxygen, yeah? Aloe vera is one of those. They'll clean up your air, give you fresh air. But it's also such a great, para siyang first aid kit. When you get any burns, I always have one near where I can get to it, in my house or in the garden. Kasi ang bilis-bilis niya talaga to heal burns, even second-degree burns. In fact, nagkaroon na nga ng study tungkol dyan. They compared it with the usual burn ointment. And they found it takes 3 days faster ang aloe vera sa healing. No? But I experienced that myself. Ang bilis talaga kasi when you put it on, when you open it, they get the clear gel, it cuts the heat right away. So the burning stops right there and the healing is really fast. Before, sandali lang. Wow, I was really shocked kasi I was always, before I discovered aloe vera. No? And then it also helps with other skin trouble. Yeah. But one thing is, you have to understand the aloe vera gel, the clear part, that's what you use. Don't scrape so much near the skin kasi that has a yellow fluid that can be irritating. No?
Okay.
So, aside from the aloe vera, there's also peppermint, no? Or any mints that you can get your hands on. Ang mints are easy to take care of. They're so easy to take care of na people tell you, better keep them in a pot na nga. Don't, kasi otherwise it will take over your garden pag nagustuhan niya. We're familiar with mints naman sa Philippines. Maganda siya sa any stomach, your digestive system, matutulungan siya talaga. No? And aside from that, the fragrance is very good for our mood. Now that we are stressed out, it will be calming. It wakes you up if you are sleepy, but at the same time you're calm. It also has antiviral properties, no? Like now we really need all the antivirals we can find.
Yes.
Yeah. And very nice siya when you wake up, and like now lumalamig, it's nice for tea.
Madali siyang itanim.
Spearmint then is another kind of
Yes, any of the mints, they're
and
good
also
for us.
for cooking, hindi ba yung
Yes.
anak mo, I would see her put it in some dressings sa
Sa mga
sinachop
chutney,
niya,
for salads. And even after you eat food, let's say you ate something very tasty, you can just chew on the leaves and it freshens your mouth right away instead of going for something sweet or sticky for your teeth. This one, it will refresh and help you digest also, especially a heavy meal. No, if you like, you can also take it when you have any digestive issues, like you ate too much, you might throw up or vomit, or it's good for your sinuses, for your sore throats, yeah, and for your energy levels. Okay, kasi when we're stressed out, it can bring down your energy levels, no? Peppermint is a very good pick me up. Mm-mm. So
So,
there.
kaya yan, talking about plants, and we see earlier it was being discussed by Dr. Luli, di ba?
Yes.
Kaya marami ho tayong pwedeng gawin na makakatulong sa paglunas nitong ating mga issues today. Kaya nga ito sa atin sa Gopalakas, we're sharing most of this information to everybody just so that, we can do our part to take care of ourselves, our family, even sharing this information to our neighbors, caring.
So you don't also have to rush to the hospital. You don't have to rush to the botica to get
Yes,
stuff and get exposed. So you can have some medical aid even from these plants.
Yes.
So
And
that
go
will
back to
help you.
natural stuff.
Yes.
Mas better,
Get
alam mo.
used to it, hindi ba? Introduce your children to drinking peppermint tea, pwedeng iced tea, hindi ba?
Yes.
Pwedeng lamigan and everything. So that's very nice.
Refreshing
Yeah.
siya.
Okay, so now I would like to share on this Bayanihan spirit. And, in Bayanihan spirit, it always comes to my mind yung picture dati na yung mga tao nagtutulungan magbuhat ng
yes,
kubo,
oo.
no? Wala pang Lala Move, wala pang mga yung delivery or whatever. Sila, human resource, caring a house, helping their neighbors. So basically, that's in our culture, helping each other. Now, there is an American proverb diniscuss niya na, if you don't believe, kasi cooperation yun, no? If you don't believe in cooperation or bayanihan, sinasabi, just look at the car when the wheel comes off. Okay.
Ano na.
Disgrasya, aksidenteng malaki. Kung hindi, kung kulang yung gulong, syempre maaksidente yung kotse, no? So similarly, even in our society po, na kung tayo ay nagkukulang sa bayanihan, even if one family or one member of the family is doing everything to prevent getting sick, no? Pero meron lang po tayo na isang tao na pasaway, walang cooperation, ayaw makipag-coordinate, ayaw mag-mask, no? Isang tao lang po yun will also create problems for everybody else. So, bayanihan spirit is required for the whole community to survive, for our whole society to actually be protected. So, kailangan po, nagtutulungan, like si Marisa, sinabi niya, kahit yung tulong natin is just by not going out, not exposing yourself. That is also bayanihan. And when we talk about, nabanggit ni Toby kanina, off-screen, off the show, sabi niya na, ano ba yung topic natin? Bayanihan, yung pagiging bayani, no? Pagiging bayani nowadays,
Yes,
diba?
also.
So every person po na is doing his part to contribute towards, to help solve the problem, will not just be the frontliners, but also the people, the other citizens,
Each of
cooperating.
us. Each of us.
All of us can be a hero. All of us can be a bayani at this time. Yun na yung bayanihan spirit.
It is when you share and you take part of a process, that's when you actually learn.
Yes.
This is where real life experience comes to play. Ngayon, if you just tend to think of yourself all the time, this is where pagdating, kumbaga na may kasabihan,
Just
no
be
man is an
miserable.
island. Alam niyo ako, I've been raising bees for so many years. The bee colony is such a classic example.
Oh, yes. Everybody
Good
has
examples.
a role.
Alam niyo, even in scriptural or even in biblical mentions, quotes, the bees is always mentioned. Kasi ang ganda nilang model Kasi kunyari, ang isang honeybee, magtatrabaho yan buong buhay niya And yung kanyang trabaho is for the betterment of the whole community.
everybody.
Lahat ng kanyang kakainin 1/10 lang yung kanyang pagkain. The rest goes to the
Colony.
colony.
Yes.
And it's good pa for the whole ecosystem,
Ecosystem.
not just the hive.
There's so much to learn in many ways, So, itong ating, the wisdom of it is so important.
Yes. Okay, so one other quote that I have is from the Chinese. No? Sinasabi that strength doesn't come from the muscles of the arms, yes, but from the unison of the heart. Okay, so ang ibig sabihin po nito, no, hindi naman physical ang when you talk about strength, it's not as superficial as yung muscular power. But actually, it is when all our hearts are tied together with the common vision and common goal of helping one another and cooperating with each other to solve a problem. So this is where we can experience this unity, and this is also the meaning of yoga, unity, one in spirit,
Union.
mind, and in union with the Supreme Person. No? And especially, not just thinking that it is by our own effort, but always looking that we have or we need to actually seek the help of the Supreme Powerful. Meron sinasabi na even if you have many zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, that is all equivalent to 0. But if you put number 1 in front of all the zeros, then you can have 1 million, you can have 1 billion, 1 trillion, because number 1 is there in front of all the zeros. So when we talk about bayanihan po, hindi po natin titingnan sarili lang nating kakayahan, pero umaasa tayo sa tulong at biyaya ng Panginoon para magkaroon ng purpose, para magkaroon ng meaning, para magkaroon talaga ng strength that is coming from Him, which will help us overcome our problems. So that po is the real bayanihan. At the center of our teamwork, not just us alone, we're not thinking, kaya lang namin itong lahat. No? Kasi we are very limited in our capacity. We need to have the leader, the foremost leader, the Supreme Person who will be actually the number 1 in front of us all numbers 0. Okay? Then we can have a meaningful impact. We have a meaningful impact on our environment, on society, and even against COVID.
Yes.
Just si COVID.
In unity there's strength.
Yes.
It's
When
the
we're
synergy.
united.
The synergy.
The synergy
Everybody's
that-
energy together.
So, at these times, marami ho tayong pwedeng tingnan o we tularan, as an example. Sa atin kasi, for so many years, alam nyo, itong modern time minsan, may mga ehemplo tayong nakikita na parang they're promoting competition. So in this situation, parang pinopromote lang natin yung sarili natin pagdating sa competition na attitude. But again, we can find that most of those who are successful in the field of whatever they're pursuing always has a team of people working underneath. And that this person no matter how successful you are, you need others to make you the way you are. But we should not forget that there has to be cooperation. The spirit of cooperation is always, and unity will play a major role to the success of kung ano man ang pinupursue natin.
And to have cooperation, you need to be humble, to
Yes.
accept the help of other
Yes.
people, and to also be respectful. But
And
respect
thankful.
and
Thankful for all that.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Kaya nga yung mga kailangan itanaw natin yung ating pinanggalingan din. Di ba? Marami ho tayo sa ating history. sa kultura ho natin, no matter what. It's always, kumbaga ano, if we're together, we will be successful to overcome whatever obstacles we have and we're faced with. So sa ating mga panauhin ulit, napakabilis ho ng oras at maraming hong salamat sa inyo at we hope to see you again. At saka sa ating naging panauhin ngayong araw, si Dr. Lourdes
Dr.
Cruz.
Lourdes,
Please,
thank you
marami
so
pong
much.
salamat for coming. And again, thank you so much for everybody. So ating mga anchors, take over. Salamat.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po ulit, Tito Socorro, Tita Marisa, and Tito Toby for giving that wonderful talk, right?
Yes,
And
thank
Attorney
you.
Jai, yeah.
Right. So after Dr. Ludi, and especially after our Living Wise segment, where our viewers and listeners got so many tips on how to apply the Bayanihan spirit in your personal lives. Very practical, very simple, easy to do. We would like to see how you apply these tips in your life. We would like to see how you apply the Bayanihan spirit in your daily lives. So if you can submit to us a picture, maybe how you plant or how you use aloe vera, like Tita Marisa said, or how maybe meratan din kayo sa backyard. We would like to see and hear from you. So be sure to document how you apply the Bayanihan spirit tips we have provided on our show in your your personal lives, and we will share them on our Facebook page this coming week. The best ones will get a shout out next episode.
Ayun. So napakagandang challenge nun para sa ating mga listeners and viewers, no?
Yeah.
And also it's nice to take note what Tita Socorro is saying, right? Sa pagiging para magkaroon tayo ng unity and cooperation, we need to be humble.
Yes.
You know, in Bayanihan dyan nagsisimula, and we need to be respectful and thankful, no? So in this way, we get the foundation of how the Bayanihan starts. And syempre, lahat nagsisimula with one, hindi with zeros. Tama ba, Atty. Jai? No? Gaya na sinabi ni Tita Socorro, if we have many zeros, kung wala naman one, wala ring mangyayari dyan. So kahit anong gawin nating effort, if we do not make the Supreme Person the center of what we are doing, then our efforts are incomplete. Kumbaga, tama ba yung word na incomplete, Atty. Jai? Or there must be any word na mas bagay doon. So anyway, that's what I've heard, that's what I've learned today sa Living Wise, no? So Atty. Jai, I think we need to take a short break for another segment, right? For the good food.
Yes.
So sa ating mga listeners and viewers, so we need to take a short break. So wag po kayong aalis. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Ugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas.
Magbabalik ang Gopalakas! Gopalakas! Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide. Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan, samahan si Atty. Jai at DJ Gaur sa pagpapaunlad ng kalusugan sa katawan, isipan at espiritual. Go Palakas! Go Palakas! Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan tuwing Sabado, 10 a.m. Philippine Time. Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide. Connected ka na ba para laging updated sa mga bagong shows, promos, trending news, viral videos, events, o patok na OPM hits? Just follow us on Facebook. Simple lang. I-type lang ang letter V81 Radio. O, di ba madali lang? Kaya i-like at i-follow na. Balikan na natin ang Go Palakas! Go Palakas! Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
So ayan, nandito naman po tayo sa panibagong segment, no? Nandito na po tayo sa ikatlo. Ayan, so welcome back sa ating show. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga viewers and listeners na hanggang ngayon nandyan pa. Ayan, and syempre, gaya po ng sinabi nila Tito Toby, and we have so much to learn on this show. And sa ating mga bagong pasok, sa ating mga bagong viewers. So we would like to invite you to like and share our page. And syempre itong video na to paki-share na rin, no? And sa mga natin, if you have any questions or comments, lagay nyo lang po dyan sa ating comment section. And pwede rin kayo mag-send ng message sa ating hotlines, right? So, wag na po natin patagalin. Nandito na po tayo sa ating ikatlong segment, which is the good food. So, marahil ay marami po na namang isi-share ang ating segment host dito na sila Ate Cruz and Ate Nimay. So, wag na po natin patagalin at panoorin na po natin ang the good food.
A healthy community starts at home. As mothers ourselves, we know that food nurtures and heals the body. Here on The Good Food, our focus is simple: to inspire you to eat and live healthier. Snacking is an absolute favorite pastime, and most often our food cabinet or pantry is filled with store-bought snacks.
Today we'll be featuring 4 healthy recipes that you can try at home using the most basic ingredients. Hi everyone, I'm Chris.
And I'm Nimai. Welcome to The Good Food.
Now that we're mostly stuck at home, we tend to snack more than usual. Chips, ice cream, cookies and cakes are usually the first things we grab. These snack ideas we'll share with you today are quick and easy to make and bursting with flavor. It's packed with nutrients that will give you the right fuel your body needs.
Bananas are widely grown in the Philippines. Bananas are so common that you can find them in all local markets and groceries. Of the 4 main types of bananas, the Saba or Cardapo banana is what we use for cooking. Benefits of consuming Saba are as follows: reduce stress and depression due to the amino acid tryptophan, helps lose weight and relieves constipation because of its high fiber content, reduces cramps and muscle aches because of its mineral content, alleviates symptoms of PMS, reduces itching and swelling due to insect bites. We're quite familiar with Saba, cooked as turon, banana cue, or cooked in syrup. Here's another easy and no-fuss sweet snack you can try at home. Peel and half your bananas lengthwise. Bake in the toaster oven for 15 to 20 minutes. If you like, you can also sprinkle a little sugar and cinnamon. Serve this for breakfast or as an on-the-go snack. Now here's Chris to show you another healthy snack that you can prepare for your family.
Next up is a Middle Eastern dip called baba ganoush. It's made with 5 local ingredients, and that includes eggplant, garlic, lemon juice, tahini, and salt. There are different variations available, but this basic recipe is definitely a crowd pleaser. Let's start with the tahini. I know it sounds complicated, but it's basically just sesame seeds and olive oil. Sesame seeds are a great source of minerals and plant protein. It improves bone health, facilitates hair growth, promotes healthy skin, and boosts oral health. To make the tahini, add the sesame seeds into a large pan and lightly toast it for about 5 minutes. Set it aside to cool to room temperature. Transfer the sesame seeds to your blender and process it until a crumbly paste forms. You may have to scrape down the sides to help get things moving. Now add the olive oil and process for 2 more minutes. When it's nice and smooth, add some salt and pulse it again just to mix it one last time. This is your basic tahini paste. Now set this aside and let's make the baba ganoush. Start by roasting the eggplant. I used a gas stove top, but you can also use your outdoor grill or oven. Completely char the outside of the eggplant to get that deep smoky flavor. Use your tongs to move it around to make sure all the sides, top and bottom, are charred. Once it's all done, set it aside and let it cool down. Once it's cooled, peel away the skin until you're left with the flesh. Roughly chop the eggplant and put it in the blender along with the tahini, salt, garlic, and lemon juice and blend until smooth. Pour the baba ganoush into a serving bowl. Drizzle it with some olive oil and garnish it with cilantro. You can add spices like cumin and paprika for that extra flavor. Catch us next week for the second part of this healthy snack episode.
So yan guys, ano masasabi nyo sa ating mga pinakita ng ating mga segment host? I-comment nyo lang dyan. So tawagin natin si Atty. Jai para sa kanyang feedback. Yan, Atty. Jai,
Okay naman.
kumusta ka? Ayan, no? Ano masasabi mo sa ating good food ngayong araw?
Ayos yung baba ganoush na yan. Tsaka yung saging, ginagawa ko na yan.
Oo.
Hindi ako sa saging. Pero yung isama na natin sa challenge sa ating mga viewers at listeners, yung baba ganoush at saging na yan. Baba ganoush at saging challenge.
Okay.
Hindi. Ang tawag natin sa challenge natin, hashtag Gopalakas Bayanihan. Para in-tune yan sa ating episode ngayon. So, sa lahat ng mga viewers natin, if you're going to make submissions on our page, you can PM us or even comment it on the episode today. Picturean nyo lang kung ginawa nyo nga yung baba ganoush or nagtusta lang kayo ng saba, submit nyo na rin. Tapos lagay nyo yung hashtag Gopalakas Bayanihan.
Bayanihan. Yeah,
Okay.
sobrang lupit naman nun. So, before we have a short break, Atty. Jai, mag-shoutout muna tayo.
Sure.
May babatiin ka ba?
Yes. Si Ma'am Ivy, nanonood kanina kay Dr. Luli. So she said, more power, Dr. Luli, if you're still watching. Marami kang fans ngayon sa ating page. J. Resurrection says, good morning, Gopalakas. Clifford Gonzalez says, good morning, Gopalakas. Good morning, Clifford. Meron din nagbati. Dr. Luli, if you're listening, binati rin po kayo ni Ma'am Janet Paredes and ni Miss Elenet Di mo kulangan. Sabi niya rin po, good morning. Nawala ate at ang ating main anchor.
Oo, hindi pa
hi,
tayo
Gaur.
nagbabayad ng internet eh.
Right now, teka Gaur, one last
Sige
list
lang.
of shoutouts. I'd like to say Gopalakas and mabuhay to Carl Castillo, Matt Medina, and Madam Sheila Season. I'd like also to greet Big Boss Man, Fran Sabili, Gio Limhoco, and my brother Anton Gasquel. Finally, happy birthday to my brother Abe Alzate.
Wow.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday
you for-
sa may mga birthday dyan. Palakpakan naman natin sila. And thank you for tuning in. I also want to greet my auntie, tiya ko sa Cebu. Ayan, si Tita Nora, happy birthday po from Cebu. Ayan, si Ma'am April, mga Lino Batas. Sabi niya, ako kinakain ko ng fresh ang saba. Ako
Bago
rin.
niyo-
alam niyo ba guys, share ko lang, mas gusto ko yung yung fresh talaga na saba kaysa sa nilaga. Ewan ko bakit. Ikaw, Atty. Jai. Ang gulo eh.
Okay din naman. Basta
Yeah.
matamis. Pero pag pa siya, hilaw, medyo chalky, 'di ba? Pag hindi mo pinapaboil muna. Pero bago nyo kainin yung saba, picturean nyo muna, tapos submit nyo na rin.
Yes.
Hashtag Gopalakas Bayanihan.
Teka lang, bago nyo pala kainin at picture, i-offer nyo muna, ipagdasal muna natin para ma-bless tayo.
Tama.
Di ba? Reminder lang. So anyways, I think we need to have a short break. Nandiyan na ang
Sure.
ating segment host na si Sir Manu. So wag po tayong alis. Magbabalik po ang Gopalakas Radio Program.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo.
Connected ka na ba para laging updated sa mga bagong shows, promos, trending news, viral videos, events o patok na OPM hits? Just follow us on Facebook. Simple lang. I-type lang ang letter V81 Radio. O, di ba madali lang? Kaya i-like at i-follow na. Balikan na natin ang Gopalakas. Gopalakas. Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
Haribo, 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 Haribo.
Ayan. So, nagbabalik na po tayo sa ating show. Maraming salamat po kila Atty. Cruz ulit and Ate Nimay for sharing that wonderful. And wag po kayong next week may part 2 pa yan. And ayon sa experience ko rin, syempre, dun sa good food, syempre, mas ini-encourage nila tayo na gumawa ng sariling atin na merienda. Like for example, kasi ako, nung mga nakaraang kasi may nagtitinda dito sa amin ng turon, banana Q. Pero this time, sabi ko, lalo na pandemic ngayon, so wag tayong masyadong mag-expose sa labas to be healthy, to be safe, no? Mas magandang gumawa tayo ng sarili nating merienda in our home. So, syempre, sabihin ko na rin sa inyo, in connection with Bayanihan, yung music meditation, ang napakagandang solusyon para sa Bayanihan, para sa pandemic na to. So yung music, especially music meditation, napakalaking epekto niyan sa ating isipan, sa ating puso upang magkaroon tayo ng mas malawak pang pag-unawa sa ating sarili, sa ating bayan. So wag na po natin patagalin, experience na po natin ang benefits ng music meditation with our segment host, Sir Manu. Sir Manu, take it away, please.
Thank you sa mga host para sa mga napakagandang information na shinare nila. And thank you, Gopalakas. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Welcome again to Music Meditation. Oras na naman po para mag-immerse sa mga healing sounds. Alam niyo, may kasabihan na for the world to be peaceful, we must be peaceful within ourselves. Simply by resting our hearts and minds dito sa mga healing sounds na ito, sila ay mapipurify. Tapos gradually, pwede natin ma-experience yung inner peace and happiness na inherent sa atin lahat. See that?
Good morning, everyone. So to start, let's just do a quick body scan to help us relax, and after which we will ease into a very chill practice of music meditation.
Ipikit ang mga mata. Pakinggan ang mga alon. Ihalin tulad natin ang ating paghinga sa mga alon. Ang pag-agos ng alon sa dalampasigan ay parang mga energizing inhalations natin na nagbibigay sigla sa ating katawan. At sa pagdaloy nito pabalik sa dagat, ay parang mga relaxing exhalations natin na nagre-release at nag-wash away ng ating mga physical stress. Pakiramdaman natin ang ating katawan. I-relax ang ating mukha mula sa noo, mga pisngi, hanggang mga labi. Mag-inhale at sa pag-exhale, hayaang bumagsak ang ating mga balikat. Sunod na i-release ang tension sa buong likuran hanggang sa mga baywang. Dahan-dahan na bumibigat ang ating katawan habang ito'y nakakaranas ng stillness at relaxation. Pwede tayong manatili sa comfortable position na kung saan man tayo ngayon, habang tayo ay magpapatuloy sa isang uplifting practice ng music meditation. Ang mga healing sounds ay nahahambing sa pagsikat ng araw na nagbibigay ng warmth and comfort sa lahat ng masilayan nito.
Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Gopala, Gopala Haribo, Gopala, Gopala, Gopala Haribo, Gopala, Gopala, Gopala Haribo, Gopala, Gopala, Gopala Haribo, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala,
maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Sana okay kayo lahat dyan and stay safe, stay healthy. See you next time.
Uy, that's very nice, no? Nagustuhan ko yung ano dun, yung mash-up dun, galing. So, grabe, no? So, sa mga ating listeners and viewers, kamusta ang inyong experience with the music meditation? Ako, individually, personally, syempre sobrang na-relax ako and sobrang kalmado ko ngayon dahil sa music meditation. And gaya nga ng sabi ni Sir Mano kanina, yun, sabi niya, yung a lotus flower rises above the water. So parang yung similarly through this music meditation, matutulungan niyan tayong makaalis or makasalba sa anxieties and makatikim ng inner happiness. So, andyan na ba si Atty. Jai? Para naman makausap natin siya. Wala pa. Okay, sige, okay lang yan. So anyway, malapit na tayo magtapos dahil 2 hours na tayo on the show, right? So, I would like to thank everyone for listening in and for viewing and sharing, no? Sila Dr. Luli, yan, sila Tito Toby, Tita Socorro, and Tita Marisa for their wonderful sharing sa ating segment, sa ating show. And I would like to thank, syempre, ating mga listeners and viewers, syempre sa pagstay. So shoutout sa ating mga viewers na si Jai Villamor, syempre si Sir Harry Capulong, si Clifford Lorenzo Sanzano Gonzalez, good AM, Gopalakas. So syempre sa lahat ng ating manonood mamaya and sa mga susunod pang araw, thank you very much sa inyo and wag niyo po kaming kakalimutan na mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. Search niyo lang po ang Gopalakas sa ating YouTube and syempre sa ating Instagram, i-follow niyo rin po kami and sa Twitter. Alright, so maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po. And syempre, sa V821 Radio, yan, kila Sir Rolly Pagaspas, sa Talk Shop Asia, and kay Sir Rally, syempre sa ating organization na Swift Care, and to all the viewers and listeners, marami pong salamat. And syempre, sa contest natin, contest ba tawag doon? Challenge pala, sorry. Sa challenge, wag niyo pong kakalimutan na ilagay yung Bayanihan, no? Ang hashtag Gopalakas Bayanihan. Ayan. So maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. At ngayon kailangan na po natin magpaalam. So hope everyone is safe. Oh, wait. Bago tayong umalis, nandiyan na si Atty. Jai.
Yes.
Atty. Jai, welcome back.
Sorry, nireset ko yung internet ko eh.
Alright. Okay.
Nagbati ka na ba sa ating mga viewers?
Syempre, kung meron ka pa ibang babatiin, syempre.
Wala na. Nag-shoutout na ako bago mag-break. Puti timing na lang. Kung sakaling hindi ako nakabalik, nakabati na ako dun sa mga nagpabati. Anyway, na-remind mo rin sila about our challenge, no?
Yes, of
narinig
course.
Narinig ko yung reminder mo. Just be sure to our viewers and listeners, use the hashtag Gopalakas Bayanihan. Gawin nating trending yan.
Yes.
Yun lang masasabi ko, Gaur.
Okay, so thank you very much for everyone na nakikinig at nanonood. At ulit, kailangan na po natin magpaalam. So we hope that everyone is safe. Okay kayong lahat. So maraming salamat po ulit. Kita-kits po ulit tayo next Saturday, 10 a.m. onwards. So maraming salamat. Paalam.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas.
Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan, samahan si Atty. Jai at DJ Gaur sa pagpapaunlad ng kalusugan sa katawan, isipan at espiritual. Go Palakas! Go Palakas! Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan tuwing Sabado, 10 a.m. Philippine Time. Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide. Tunog Pinoy, Tatak Pinoy, the future of radio. This is your all-hits, all-Pinoy internet radio station. This is V81 Radio Worldwide.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy.